Hey!
Welcome back.
Back for another episode 2.
So this is part 2. Podcast. Right, Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast. So right now we're gonna cover, do a little update on the whole R. Kelly situation right now. I don't know if you guys have heard. This just came across my Facebook. Got a link where it turns out another video of R. Kelly, or who was potentially R. Kelly, was released. Well, not released, but it was sent in to the police, and they have some comments on it talking about. So overall, here's the basis. A guy, Gary Dennis, who works in a nursing home, said he was digging through some boxes, and that he came across a videotape in a box of old VHS tapes in his Pennsylvania home. And he said he never met R. Kelly. He doesn't know how the tape came in his possession, but that it seemed to have footage of R. Kelly abusing 2 young African American girls in this videotape. And so as he said, he was disgusted and horrified when he saw it, and he sent it in immediately to the police. He said there was also footage of part of a sports game on it, and that as he was going through it, he said he did not expect to see that. So I don't know, man. To me personally, it does sound a little suspect.
Definitely sounds suspect. Come on.
This came out
randomly having
some random
This
guy.
article from ABC News came out today, March 10th.
I don't think that evidence of that tape will ever be submissible in court unless it clearly shows R. Kelly on that videotape.
Did he have 2 forms of ID?
Because they're going to ask for what's the connection between R. Kelly and this guy? How did you just happen to get this tape?
And in effect, also Gloria.
They're even going to
Allred,
look at the sports game that's on the tape and date it to when this thing happened with R. Kelly.
Gloria Allred, an attorney, said she watched the video and said she wasn't 100% sure that it was R. Kelly. But
I mean even Dave Chappelle will like R. Kelly a little bit.
There could be. I mean. There could be lookalikes. Like, there's a lot of people that look
like R.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Who was the guy? Who was the lookalike like R. Kelly? What was his name? It wasn't R. Kelly. It was Aaron something, right? Remember R&B singer looked like R. Kelly?
Nope.
No. Aaron somebody.
Aaron
Hall. Was that it?
Pendergrass?
No idea.
The Aaron Pendergrass.
Yeah, but
oh snap.
I don't know, man. Like, all in all, this footage or this whole scenarios in itself seemed a little iffy and a little weird, man. Like,
definitely a little iffy, man.
It brings up some questions, but if the overall question is, do I believe that R. Kelly assaulted or sexually abused underage girls? I mean, we all know the answer to this, man.
Okay.
It's not debatable, dude.
I'm just saying that
it might be.
Is it though?
I believe and could read and between the lines in the K. Michelle interview when K. Michelle was like,
what's her first name?
I wouldn't say anything about
K?
I wouldn't say anything negative about him, but parents need to watch their children. Like,
what does that mean?
That exactly. Like, if someone says that in reference to R. Kelly, I think that says enough about what you need to know about this man. Like,
but
that's
her opinion. You know what I mean?
She was living with him, and
she still
said that.
Oh,
she lives with him.
She was living with him. She said that
he stays in Trump Tower.
She said that he opened like his home to people, and that she was.
He did say in the interview that he's guilty of having a big heart. Didn't he say that in the interview?
That he opens his home to people, and she said that she was very grateful to him, and that he gets into the music zone, and everything is about music, and also, but that he has like paid women in his home that do things like swim in a fish tank.
Well, that's where all his money went for that child support. Paying women to swim in a fish tank. And I mean,
that's your kid.
If you were a wildly successful R&B singer, wouldn't you have women swimming in your fish tank? I would.
Probably,
you know what I mean? Yes. Come on.
Yeah, maybe.
If I had enough money to waste, this dude sold millions of records. Like, he was on top of the world at one point.
Hey,
you would have women swimming in your fish tank?
Bruh, yes. If I'm going to a crazy pool party,
paid for it, then yeah.
You know what kind of circles R. Kelly used to run in? Jay-Z.
He lives in
music
Trump Tower.
executives.
How much is that shit?
Yeah, I'm going to have a party. I'm going to have women swimming.
He lives in Trump Tower.
They're going to be like, yo, is that a mermaid in your fish tank? Like, yep.
It's
a mermaid up in there.
Mm-hmm.
Just bought it. You know what I mean? Had to import it.
Wow.
But, okay, so Yesterday, today is Sunday, March 10th. Yesterday, R. Kelly was released from jail. He was jailed for failing to pay child support. The Cook County Sheriff's Office said that a person who asked to remain anonymous paid the $161,000 to secure the singer's release, according to the Associated Press.
What happened to his money?
Where is his money, man?
I mean,
right? You don't have
$160,000 ain't
$160,000.
that expensive. 160. Maybe if it's a career, maybe it's like a year, but not like per swim.
And it's not like you're getting them swimming there every day. If you had like if you had like a party, you pay them, $60,000, $70,000. Just swim around in my fish tank all day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A couple $1,000 to cover that.
I think this thing is being wildly blown out of proportion.
A weekday.
Now, it comes down to individuals' opinions, right? There are two girls, now I can't think of their names off the top, who say that they have no problem with R. Kelly. They're living with them. They're in a relationship with them. They both say that they're happy and that they're safe, right? Now, there's other girls who are saying that they weren't. And I think that in a court of public opinion, he's guilty already. Just like Michael Jackson. All you need to do is hear the rumors. And people make up their minds. Okay, that motherfucker is kind of weird. You know what I mean? I think he probably did do something like that.
But R. Kelly's not weird though.
He is kind of weird. Like, if you listen to that interview, you can tell he's on something.
He's not weird like Michael Jackson was weird.
No.
Like everybody looked at Michael Jackson and was like, oh, there's some shit going on.
He's not like Prince.
R. Kelly's just a regular black dude. He just happened to be rich and a singer.
Right. No? But he's definitely on something. If you look at that interview, he sounded slowed down.
In the interview, he lied about things we knew it was true. Like, I don't have sex with girls who are less than 17.
We know that's not true.
When they got
we
married.
Don't necessarily know if he had sex with Aaliyah.
Oh, come
that is wild
on.
speculation. We don't know that. You know, bless you. We don't know that though. Everybody assumes because they were married, and they probably did, but we don't know it. You know what I mean? We don't have any hard concrete evidence.
In the K. Michelle interview, okay, she said, "I remember feeling trapped. If I leave this house, I'm never going to sing. I'm having to stay there. I don't see my family. I don't see anybody but R. Kelly."
That's a little scary right there. Like, so when you think about the influence he has over these women, say all of these women who come by his place who need help, say he does have a big heart, but his big heart is tempered by his ability to control people with his power and influence.
Right.
He only has a big heart for those who remained under his thumb, right? Like, we don't know what the situation is, but this sounds kind of like iffy. Like, a statement like that, she felt trapped.
It does, and these stories aren't coming from nowhere.
Yeah,
you know what I
mean? And it's not like it's one or two.
Right.
It's a lot.
But my thing is, if they could charge him with something, why hasn't he been charged up to this point? Now, he just got released from jail yesterday due to paid child support. His child support got paid by an anonymous donor, and he was released. So if he's guilty of these sexual abuse allegations, why isn't he jailed for that? You know what I mean?
Well, he's definitely...
Do they have any concrete evidence
for that? He's charged with that, and he's going to court for that. Right? That's what happened. He's not in jail right now.
So he's guilty already in the court of public opinion, but he's not guilty in the court of legal opinion.
Agreed. But we're also not like legal scholars, right?
I definitely think he's guilty.
I'm not an attorney. I can't send him to jail.
I definitely think he's guilty.
Public opinion is all I got right now.
But I'm with Boyce Watkins. Where were the parents? If my daughter is 16, how does R. Kelly get a hold of my 16-year-old daughter? Now, kids run away all the time. You know, things happen at home where the kids don't want to be around. They move out. The parents say, "Oh, well, they'll be back. They need me," and then she's end up gone for a year or 2 years, right? But how did a 16-year-old, 17-year-old girl get to R. Kelly's house under his control, under his umbrella?
Can I present a scenario? Happen? Like, how about this scenario?
Because you wouldn't let your daughter go over there.
A young girl goes to Hollywood, or it happens all the time on the West Coast, or in Hollywood, right? She goes, she wants to be a big singer. She goes out, she finds herself in dire straits. She has some talent, she has some ability to sing, right? And she's looking for a foot in the door, but who else can give her this foot in the door? Nobody's looking at her.
Hey, look, and she's at a McDonald's, and R. Kelly pulls up.
Right, yeah. She's not the only person to sing. 150 people on the street right now can sing. You go outside. So, you need a foot in the door. Oh, R. Kelly pulls right up. She's like, "Hey, I heard you were looking for a gig."
R. Kelly pulled up and said, "I want to pee on you."
He says the most melodic tone.
Come on, Steph, that's not right.
On you.
He ain't pull up to a middle school, Steph. Stop it. All right, they didn't say that young girls. All right, jeez.
Hey, all we know is it's not the parents' fault if their child is sexually abused by R. Kelly. It's not the parents' fault, right?
Is it not though? If they were 15, 16.
Because first off, teenagers are assholes.
What did you do to get your daughter back?
How bad were we when we were teenagers?
Yeah, we was pretty bad.
I'm just saying, like, shit happens with teenagers, man. So a parent can't always control what happens with your kid. You in Chicago, she rolls up on R. Kelly rolls up on her. Like, what power do you have?
Even there was
what
a video.
What can a parent do? Like, you guys talking about, like, I'm gonna go beat his door down. You can't get to the top of Trump Tower.
But you could take the police.
You're not getting up there.
You could take the authorities to his door and say, "Hey, he has my underage child in there." Right. And if you know for a fact that he does,
and they have done that, right?
Well,
and what happens?
Why wasn't he charged in those cases?
But here's the thing: it's the parent's word versus the child's word versus R. Kelly's word.
But the child can't consent.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, like an underage.
So are we blaming the parents again, or are we blaming the police? Like, what's the situation here?
I'm blaming R. Kelly first and foremost.
Right, like.
Oh, there we are then.
But
end of discussion.
I still think we are layering on R. Kelly a little bit unfairly, because it's just like it's just like Boyce Watkins said, man. It's an open secret that people lie in politics, right? People lie all the time. We know candidates are lying when they're campaigning, but we still choose to support them or not, right?
I agree. No, it's important to hold them accountable.
Right, so...
But you got to be informed.
Wait a minute. Where was I going with this stuff?
Sorry.
Okay, it's important, right? Okay, so figures in Hollywood, right? Executives. Who was the guy who got caught up? Some music executive who got caught up
R. Kelly.
Saying that he... No. He was saying... I said executive.
Russell Simmons?
Who was saying that he was going to have sex with these girls to put them in movies. Wasn't this guy, it was a couple months ago. Who was this executive of like Sony? It was Harvey Weinstein, right? Mm-hmm. We know that happens all the time. Child sex trafficking, sex rings, underage, just sexual, all types of sexual misconduct.
R. Kelly's biggest issue, though, is that these were underage. So
R. Kelly is our
it's a big difference, man.
Focus right now. But what about the larger picture?
The problem is men in power.
Stop it, stuff, because women sexually abuse people too. You just don't know.
Power are a problem.
I feel like that goes power corrupts ultimately, right? Like what's the phrase, man? Like ultimate power corrupts.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Like power is corruptive, right? That's why so many people are willing to do anything to sell out to keep their positions of power. That's part of the issue with politics right now. Money is power. But when you have a situation with like Weinstein, like that was fucked up, and he paid some penalties, and he paid some prices for that. But as long as he didn't hold a woman down and rape her against her will, But I don't know. Like I don't know what the women. A lot of the women he was sleeping with were overage. They were overage. R. Kelly's issue is that these were underage women who didn't consent or who couldn't consent, and even if they did consent, it's still illegal. And he has a repeated focus towards the same kind of underage woman.
And right? I think a lot of
that is the real issue. He has a pattern here.
I think a lot of it depends on the state as well, right? The age of consent. You know what I mean? Maybe 16, maybe 17 in some states, depending on where they were. You know, so I mean, I think if they could have locked him up by now for sexual abuse or aggravated assault, whatever it is, they would have done it. And the fact that they haven't means they can't charge him.
But here's the thing: they tried. I think they tried before.
Yeah,
they definitely tried before, and they didn't fall through. You know what his big misconception was even during that interview. It was like, they after me again. He mentioned double jeopardy. It's not double jeopardy, dude. If you're accused by another person, like he got off on the first charge. You didn't
serve time for this, so it's not double jeopardy.
And also, it's a different person. Like it's not he got off on the first charge.
How about just?
But it was another person who was charging, who was accusing him of having sex with underage.
And double jeopardy. Oh my god! So like, if you legal terms, like if you rape someone and you go to prison and then you rape someone again, you're going back to prison. Like that's not double jeopardy. Double jeopardy is when you're falsely accused of something, you serve the time, and then. But so then
are these sexual assault allegations, are these recent or are these of past transgressions that happened when the girls were younger, but right now, as of this date, they're old enough? Right, so it's all hearsay then, because it depends on what happened back then, and what happened back then is, like you said, it's my word versus yours.
Well, there's the statute.
If I say this didn't happen and the parents say it did, who's right, who's wrong,
But then we have the actual video footage.
What is
alleged actual video footage? Okay, because this guy found this thing.
No, not that one. Oh, okay. Not that one. The one before that with the girl who recorded her encounter.
Yeah. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that footage.
Now, that joke may be. I'll admit, like that's kind of underhanded, but at the same time, good. Like he did it.
Oh, if he did any of this stuff, he deserves to go to jail, bro.
Yeah, dude. Like,
don't sleep with underage girls.
I don't care if she set you up, dude. Like you had sex with you knew she was underage, and you had sex with her.
The thing that's so baffling, I think, to the average heterosexual male, is like, dude, you're R. Kelly. You know what I mean? Yeah. Why do you have to sleep with underage girls?
Illinois actually has
any girl. When R. Kelly was on top of the world,
state limitations of 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
When R. Kelly was on top of the world, R. Kelly could get any woman that he ever wanted.
For underage?
Why do you have to sleep with a 16-year-old R. Kelly? Why? You know what I mean? I don't understand.
Personal harm, personal injury. I don't know if that's the same.
R. Kelly, you could walk in the strip club and get the baddest stripper in the strip club. Be like, yo, I'm R. Kelly. I'll sing to you and all that. You know, just come back to my hotel.
But here's the thing.
Some people get off on
16-year-old girl. Then
he don't want a grown girl.
He wants somebody he can manipulate.
It's a fetish kind of thing, right? Yeah. You never know somebody's sexual.
Manipulate and train. You know,
and let him go when you're done with him.
There's a term for that when you are like preparing a child for this type of thing.
It's almost like a sacrifice.
No, it's called like grooming.
Grooming.
And
grooming her for what though?
Grooming for to be in the situation. So it's like you can groom a child to quote unquote consent to doing something by manipulating them.
But don't you have to, for that to be most effective, wouldn't you have to get at a child when they're at their youngest, most mentally developmental point?
I mean when you're a teenager.
Because if you get a girl when she's 14, how can you?
You could groom adults, dude.
I mean, yes.
Like you put people in a situation where they have
psychotherapy and all that, but still.
But no, it doesn't even have to be abuse. It could be coaxing. Like you could be giving them what they want. You change people's perspectives all the time, man. Like the people's mindsets are very malleable. And if you have somebody from control, somebody with a lot of control and charisma is a huge tool.
You know R. Kelly had charisma.
If you have charisma, you can convince almost anybody of anything. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump has charisma. That's why he's the president right now.
Definitely has charisma.
He has charisma, dude. I'll never take that away from him. He's a funny dude on camera. You know, one thing
in this video, when he was being released from jail, now I was telling you about this, like, this one girl in the front of the crowd, when he was speaking to the reporters and everything, this one black girl was following R. Kelly. Grab my hand, please, grab my hand. He grabbed her hand. She said, screamed and all this. I'm like, man, black people, man. This dude's in here being accused of sexual assault. Okay, and being locked up because he didn't pay the child support, and you still following after the dude screaming, "Touch my hand!"
Yeah, Boondocks. If I didn't want to get peed on, I would have moved out the way.
Like, you want this pee? You want this pee right here?
Yeah, man.
I'm with Dave Chappelle, man. 15 years old enough to decide whether you want to get peed on.
Just trying to support his black women,
right?
And then and he pull that towel with the white woman.
You say
about and everybody looked at the time like, damn, dude.
So if I just started peeing on the front row, they wouldn't have to think about it. Like, how do I feel? They just move. All right, just move out the way. Mm-hmm. What's the deal?
The sex is different.
You ever got peed on and stuff?
Dude, no.
If dude ever peed on, you'd move, right? Exactly. So it's like if you didn't want it. I don't know. That's some nasty stuff, man. I got another strip club story, but I'm not going to go into it here. You know, that's gross. You don't pee on me.
Please don't ever go into
that. You better control your bodily functions. Weird. You know what I mean?
Stories.
Come on,
Story time.
Right. Your bodily excrements.
Wait, what does your strip club story have to do with pee?
Bruh. Yeah, I'll tell y'all off camera, alright? It's crazy.
Ew.
Oh, she definitely was in that.
We should have a behind the scenes.
I was like, oh.
You might as well say it now.
Hey, look, I was with Dennis and them.
She pooted on
you? Dude, what?
No, not on me. She did it on the stage.
She pooted on the stage?
She just squirted a little bit. But you know what the squirting is? It's pee. You know what I mean? Right. And I'm like, that's disgusting. I don't want to see that. You think I'm going to throw you $5 after you did that? No, I'm not tipping you anything.
See it, clean it up.
All right, go to the back. I'm like, yo, take her to the back, man. She did a pamper or something. It's gross.
That's crazy.
That was nasty. Okay. So we didn't have to go on that subject. Juice made me. All right, guys. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry.
He said I might as well just tell it.
I'm sorry.
It was gross.
It was interesting.
It was gross.
It's ridiculous.
Well, that is disgusting. I never want to see that again.
So R. Kelly, yeah.
Right. I mean, R. Kelly was peeing on people. You don't mind talking about that stuff. So, what you hate on me and my peeing
like
story?
He peed on me,
right? It's not like I peed on her. She peed on the stage. They laid down a tarp. That joint was gross. I was shocked. I was like, oh my god. I was like, who thinks that's attractive? Who thinks that's attractive, bro?
She was an accident.
That's disgusting.
I'm sure she didn't even mean to do it on purpose.
No, me and Dennis and them was in the back like, what? Did she just pee? I wish I was recording now because I would have showed y'all the video.
But just so you know, there was somebody in the audience who was like,
He's like, yummy. Yep.
There was somebody in the audience who was like,
I want to stick my face in that. I'm like, Jesus. Maybe R. Kelly's into that stuff. One thing I'll say with R. Kelly and these fetishes, you never know a person's sexual deviations and fetishes, man, because people are into all types of stuff.
I came across
feet, pee. You know what I mean? Like people are just into all type. Like you just don't know and maybe that's R. Kelly's problem.
I was listening to a podcast and I can't remember how it came up, but anyway, they started talking about like. The blood pressure cuffs?
Yeah.
Where you start pumping to check your blood pressure. And somehow the conversation like veered towards like, I'm sure somebody's into it. And the other guy was like, I'm going to Google it. So they Googled that joke. And of course, there's a whole section of the internet into doctors and blood pressure cuffs and pump.
Right. Asphyxiation.
That just goes to show,
being choked.
Steph is right. There's something wrong with men.
Out.
Because this is clearly a male issue.
Right.
This is a guy thing.
Well, women have fetishes
all
too.
Species.
Yeah. We have
women have fetishes too. I don't buy that just a male thing.
Not as often as men, but they do. So let's not say it's like 100%.
It's totally up to the person. And even sleeping with somebody who's underage, I put that under the sexual fetish category because that's just not natural. Like it's not. What kind of we don't have to go into the semantics of, sleep with somebody underage, but I put that into a fetish thing because, especially somebody like R. Kelly, you can get an overage woman. You have no problem getting a 21, 22, 23-year-old. You're R. Kelly, you know what I mean? So why would you want to sleep with an underage girl in the first place?
But here's the thing,
man. I can put is it's a sexual.
It's still illegal though, like Ted Bundy had a fetish.
Well, that's different. He was putting people's heads in his refrigerator and shit.
I don't know. That's not Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was the serial killer who was killing women and behind their bodies. Anyway, he had a necrophilia.
They got a documentary of him.
So he had that's where I learned this from. So he had a necrophilia sexual fetish, and he had to kill the women. So it's like a whole thing
on killing them,
and having sex with the dead body in specific.
That's crazy. Yeah, right.
And it's illegal. It doesn't matter if it's your fetish. At least it's illegal.
Hey, I'll say this for R. Kelly. At least he wasn't into that.
Shit. That shit's
not okay.
At
least he wasn't into hitting the dead body. You know what I mean?
I mean, luckily.
Right. Luckily for them women. You know what I mean? But still. He's not that. He's just R. Kelly's not that bad. He's not like he's hitting the dead
I'm not saying that. That's pretty bad.
That is bad.
Like young people, like underage.
I'm kidding, guys. Of course, it's terrible.
Of course, it's terrible. Come on.
Like you are there's a story about this guy named Darren Sharper. He used to play defensive back in the NFL, and this dude, a handsome guy, good-looking dude, he was going around drugging girls at parties, kind of like Bill Cosby, drugging the girls, taking them back to his hotel room, and having sexual relations with them. And he did that joint like 30, 40, 50 times, dog. Like they had all these charges against him. So apparently, of course, he got fired from the NFL. He's in jail now. Been locked up for like 3-4 years. And I'm like, yo, you're a star athlete. You know what I mean? You are the pinnacle of athletics in the United States. Why do you have to drug girls? You can get any girl.
Because of that.
But they like that helplessness.
Right. Because he's a star athlete, because he had all that money and all that access, that made him being able to exploit what he was actually into.
Right.
I guess having sex with drugged women.
To me, that is crazy,
that was his thing.
Like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, it's just crazy, man. You can't do that shit, man.
Right. Come on. So, in I guess, in essence, R. Kelly, don't do that shit. You know
come on, R. Kelly.
Get overage.
Whenever R. Kelly looks at this video,
right,
he'll never see this. But R. Kelly, come on,
man.
Stop.
Like we're all on your side, man. Like,
look, just serve your time.
They got Bill Cosby, now they coming after you, bro. And the thing is,
it's not like they got him. I mean, they got him, but only because niggas did some fucked up shit.
My thing is,
I hate that, man. I hate
what my concern is not for him. It's for the victims, the people that have gone through
that's
this.
Different. That's
because it's like when something like this happens to a child, and even even if it's something that they've been groomed to do, that's even worse because it's like they have to live with it. They grow up thinking that something is wrong with them, that they allowed something like this to happen to them.
So what about the non-victims?
They get like for hurting them. The person serves 4 to 15 years in prison, but you have caused harm to a person that they're going to live with for the rest of their lives. But they only have to serve a few years.
That's a matter of perspective, though. That's your perspective.
Wouldn't say killing,
those two girls that are with him in the courtroom, they would say something totally different than what you said. They would say, I'm not a victim. He didn't do anything to me. I wanted to be here. You know? So I'm sure there's other girls besides those two who said that. Okay, so it's just... It's different. How do you weigh somebody's opinion, right? If I have a girl that comes to me and says, I was sexually abused, he held me against my will, and I wanted to leave, and he wouldn't let me. And you have another girl who was in the same situation and says, I wanted to be there, I wanted to go with him, I didn't want to be anywhere else, and I love him. How do you say whose opinion is right and who's wrong? Because they're both saying the same thing.
Neither one of them have to be right or wrong. One could have been okay
with
it.
This is the court. This is the court of public opinion. Court of law. Somebody has to be right or wrong.
That's why court of public opinion doesn't. That's why we don't allow lynchings. That's the court of public opinion, right? So it's not about that's not what everybody feels. It's about what the evidence proves and whether or not that act was illegal. And if we have a law in place that says that act is illegal, you gotta. I'm sorry, the act is legal. And I'm not saying I agree with all laws. The drug law has been fucked up for a long time, right? That's why we're trying to fix it. But I don't think dealing or having sex with underage people is one of those things that's going to be rolled back. At least not anytime soon.
Bad. But when you look at like the evidence of like Roman Catholic priests and bishops and cardinals sleeping with underage kids and coaches, and it's a fetish thing. And I'm not saying, of course, it's wrong. Obviously.
I don't think for them it's a fetish. I think they just been
ritualistic type stuff, right?
Nope. I think it's because you have men. I think it's humanity. I think you have men who aren't allowed to have intercourse with women or have contact with women. You stick them in a facility for their entire lives with young boys surrounding them that they find a way to express their humanity or their sexual desires. Like, just because you're a monk or whatever doesn't mean you don't have sexual situations or desires. I think the whole thing is a bad setup, and these kids happen to be victims of a terrible setup in the Catholic.
So you're saying
situation.
You think like
I think that's what happens in prisons. It's the same thing in prisons.
You're saying it's environmental. So basically, you're saying that like if someone isn't allowed to to exercise their sexual needs or requirements, that they're going to do these types of things to people, like that they, regardless of who they are and how old they are, and like that this is nature. I don't think that's everyone's nature. No.
No, of course it's not everyone.
Because if you
introduce other sex into that environment, hasn't assaulted a child, but there's a percentage of priests who will, and there's a percentage of men in prison who will be in prison long enough and have sex with other men. There's a percentage. There's a large mass who won't, but there's a percentage who will. And when you have that situation set up and institutionalize that situation, this is the outcome. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a tedious subject. There's not one right answer.
R. Kelly is not in that situation. R. Kelly, come on, dude, stop.
It's just like but I compare R. Kelly to even just like Michael Jackson, right? Everybody knows Michael Jackson did it, but do we really know? We don't. We didn't. It wasn't proved in the court of law that he did it, but everybody knows that Michael Jackson did it, right?
Here's what I do know.
It's the same thing with R. Kelly.
I'm gonna still listen to Michael Jackson's music.
You said what?
I'm gonna still listen to Michael
Jackson. I'm about to say. I thought you said you weren't.
Like, there's people who are like
blaspheme.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. But there's a whole movement of people like, oh yeah, we're done with Michael Jackson. I'm like, doesn't matter, because I'm not sure, was he touching young kids when he did Thriller? Because he was still brown then.
Nah, man.
He was still pretty brown, and he's still pretty normal.
Me speaking as a non-famous African American male,
it's still good.
I feel like if you're on top of the world,
beat it. It's still good.
You're a celebrity and a pop star like Michael Jackson or even R. Kelly.
Remember, the time may not be so good anymore.
Why do you have to sleep with anybody underage? I just don't get it. You know what I mean?
It might be an era thing.
Why? You know what I mean, Steph? Can you explain this? I can't. Goddamn, R. Kelly, get this shit together, man.
Please.
Okay, but at the same time, it's like
we need answers.
I need to know these things, R. Kelly. Come on and tell us Nigeria Talkers podcast. Sit right here and let us know.
There has to be like a limit.
We're not going to judge you like Gayle King did, R. Kelly. You come on here, you get a fair say. All right?
But don't start yelling, man.
There has to be a limit when it comes to statutory rape because there are teenagers that consent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so they...
So it's like the age of consent. Then you start getting into things like that, like...
I mean, if you go to another country,
how do you tell a 17-year-old
brides? Like, so in some cultures, when the child has, you know,
or even 100 years ago,
has reached puberty, then you're a woman now.
Even 100 years ago, you would have been glad to marry your 17-year-old daughter off to a 25-year-old doctor or something like that, right? That'll take care of them and provide them a family, you know. But it's a different day and age, and things change.
Yeah, we don't go by those laws, you know.
Right. It's weird, man. I just don't get it.
But when you're R. Kelly, and you're how old?
Right, like why R. Kelly? I don't get it.
52.
50. R. Kelly's 52.
I will say this much for black people.
There's absolutely no reason for that.
And I think this goes back to what I was saying about Dr. Layla Africa last segment.
Black don't crack though. You know
melanin, man. Black people age well, bro. Because he looks great
dude,
for 52. Like, what? When I saw him, I was like, dude, 52. You don't look a day older than your last video. You know what I mean?
Man. I thought we was just stepping in the name of love.
Right. Black people age
That's
well,
man. That's not stepping in
man.
the name of love, R. Kelly, no more.
Like you say, black don't crack, man.
Black don't crack, man.
I'm telling people I'm 35. They're like, what?
I know, right?
I can pass a 25.
So like,
20-something.
If a 21-year-old is dating a 15 or 16-year-old, I don't see that as the same as a 50-something-year-old messing with a 15-year-old.
But it is, though.
It's not
by the letter of the law, it is the same.
20 messing with the how old?
Like a 16-year-old or something.
No.
Steph, what are you trying to say?
What do you mean? What I'm trying to say?
I know who you was dating back when you was 16, 17.
When I was a teenager.
Who was your oldest boyfriend when you was back in the day, Steph?
Stop.
I'm not.
You ain't have to put that out there.
Talk about that.
All right,
but the thing is, when I was a teenager, all the girls, like when you get to a certain age,
I know. Girls always dating older dudes,
and girls are
into older dudes.
Girls mature faster than men, right? So maybe a 17-year-old feels like she's ready to date a 25-year-old, right? Like the letter of the law, 18 is the age of consent, right? So how do you tell a 17-year-old who's 6 months from turning 18 that they're not old enough to consent to a relationship when in 6 months they will be? What's going to change in their mentality that's going to make them old enough to consent 6 months from now that's not there when they're 17 and a half? Right? It's
the ability to smoke cigarettes?
I guess, man, or, buy tobacco products or get into an 18-year-old club.
You can legally kill yourself now.
Right.
Congratulations.
And I'm sure that the courts of law, they're looking at all this stuff, and
I mean,
hopefully
I feel you.
The law wins out.
I feel you. Like, there's definitely like a fuzzy area as far as like what the law says. Hard line here, drawn this line, versus human biology,
with the law
maturity, individuality, all these things. But the question is, do we want to like? Conversations are important, but do we want to go down that road?
I think we have to because
that's a slippery slope.
We do it with everything else, though.
Because at what point does it become from 18 to 16
whatever the law
because
is,
they can work a job?
Whatever the law is in that particular area, that's what you have to go by. Like, you don't have a choice. If the law says you're not, she's underage, she's underage.
Right.
And I mean, honestly,
I think if you have a good argument, it should be presented, but it has to be a solid. Because I don't know any good arguments that would be like, hey, undo this. Like, those are interesting considerations. It's interesting. It's not about enough to make me be like, we should change the law.
Is there a difference in the law?
It's not that serious.
Not morally speaking, but is there a difference in the law between 18 and 38? Because 18, you're grown. 38, you're grown. You're an adult, right? Mm-hmm. So what's to say that is it worse if a 17-year-old messes with an 18-year-old versus a 38-year-old? Because in the letter of the law, that 18 or 38-year-old is a grown person, right? But morally speaking, it's not different if it's 17 to 18, right? I mean, morally speaking, if it was 38 to 17, you'd be like, oh, that's disgusting. Here's another right? You can't get a woman your age.
Man. Here's another tricky part. Because R. Kelly didn't want an 18-year-old.
I don't understand R. Kelly. God damn it, R. Kelly.
I'm sorry. I just had to make that clear. It was like, Jesus, man. He didn't want to wait that much longer. He wanted exactly this young age.
The youngest was 12.
That's
Stop
disgusting.
it.
Come on.
Stop it, Claudine. I'm not gonna. No.
Come on.
I'm not gonna let y'all slander my man R. Kelly. I'm sick of this shit, man. Like R. Kelly in that interview.
To be fair,
you didn't see the interview, Steph.
To be fair,
he kirked out that interview.
To be fair, R. Kelly doesn't know what a cult is.
Did you see the interview when they were like, they were asking Gayle King, were you scared or were you nervous that this man is standing over you, thumping his chest and yelling and all this and losing his cool in front of you? She was like, no, I wasn't nervous. Hell yeah, she was nervous. This motherfucker standing over top of her, throwing his fingers and thumping his chest and all that. Yeah, she was nervous.
Nah, Gayle King was cool.
She didn't move. She didn't flinch.
She had her mace.
She didn't flinch. Yeah, right.
Sit down, Robert.
She was like, "No, you can sit down because I got security right back there, bro."
Eyes like, ah.
Yep. Yes, you know she was nervous though.
Nah, man. Well, here's the thing. Like,
she played it cool.
It wasn't directed at her. He was directed at the camera. So I feel like I mean, maybe she was nervous. She was like,
but still, just cracking out.
But it wasn't like he about to be like
your chest and
like
all this.
Smack her in the face.
Oh, dude, he got
he was
taken down
directed
so fast.
at the camera,
right?
And he was like yelling at the cameramen.
I'm
like,
sure the security guys. I'm sure the security guys had their hands on their tasers or whatever it is. I'm sure they did.
You saw them out there like this?
No, they let you.
There's a lot of gray. It's a lot of gray in the law, you know, because it's like, let's say, if you're in high school, your peers are the people that go to school with you, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you might be in school with an 18-year-old, but you might be a freshman. You might be 14 or 15.
Right. So that I do have an issue with that, right? Because there was a black guy who was recently like convicted and put in jail because he was 18 and his girlfriend was 17, and they went to the same high school. They were dating before that.
Somebody had out for this man.
Yeah, like, all right, so wait a minute, because that doesn't make sense at all. Like, all of a sudden it's illegal because because time continues on, he got older?
Yes.
I would say that part of the law would need to be revised.
But how, though? I mean, the law has to be the law. It has to be clear and cut. Once you're a certain age, you're a legal age. And if anything below that is illegal age. It has to be because
18 and 17.
Let's look at this situation. Okay, that one's messed up.
Now I'm on your side. I'm on your side. That's ridiculous.
If you are a senior and you're dating a freshman, you could be convicted and you get a felony. Right. You get a sexual abuse felony.
If you're
Steph,
a senior,
I could not see you being a senior in high school dating a freshman. I could not see you doing that. Steph would be like, "Oh, freshman? They ain't with this name. Okay, freshman."
I mean,
and you know what the crazy thing is about the R. Kelly thing? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Steph. Women, now I know my sisters included, I won't say any name, women date older men all the time. When they're 16, they definitely are talking to somebody who's 18 or 19 or 20. It happens all the time.
Guys,
to all you girls in every state.
Not interested in you.
Right, because women mature faster and they feel like they're ready for more, you know what I mean? And I don't blame them, you know what I mean, for feeling like that, but it happens all the time. But I guess it's different because R. Kelly was 38 and the chick was 17.
You have to look at the appeal. Like, it's like, okay, do I want this dude that's sitting next to me and like...
Why not? He might be a nice guy. He might be a great husband, a great father, you know?
He's
you just
in high
don't know.
school
You don't give
and
a
he's
chance.
learning, you know, the same type of stuff. Or do I want somebody that
I
can learn
from?
I
want this thug nigga over here who already driving.
Somebody that can pick me up from
I can see you want a thug. I can see Steph want a thug back in the day.
So I can pick me up.
Steph, you want a thug?
You know.
Oh, Thug's already at the car.
Right, Steph was getting picked up in the parking lot. Like,
it was the same in college too, man. Like, dude from the army base, it was the worst being in Norfolk State. Because
oh my God,
like
no,
the girl you would be trying to like talk to, you be talking to him, and then the dude will pull up with a fucking Suzuki motorcycle right next to you.
Camaro.
They hopping that Joan to peel off. You be like,
really? See, I'm about to go to lunch, man. I'm going back to the dorm.
Cafeteria. Go to the cafeteria.
Like you're riding the school bus. But that's the thing. For women, we have the power to choose.
You do.
We can pick whatever we want. Like I can
It is totally in your hands.
You can be a broke, have nothing female, and then go get the richest man on earth, and then you're rich. Done.
Right. That's the power of being a female.
You didn't have to work for it.
It's in your hands.
I'm just saying that, you know, there's a lot of gray. There's a lot of gray, but there's no gray in this situation with R. Kelly. If he did it, and he needs to serve time for that shit.
But legally speaking, there is a gray area. So, we ready to wrap up R. Kelly?
Yeah, man.
Move on.
Man.
This was a long segment. I know we were trying to keep them 10 to 15 minutes. It's probably been like 30.
Yeah.
Right.
40.
I'm about to check that up.
It's all good. All right, guys. Do you want this next segment?
Peace.
Peace.